Welcome back to the Mom Q podcast. I'm Candace Nassar, your host, and today I'm joined by Gilkeson, author, mom of three, and for years one of the voices behind the popular Christian band Ren Collective. She's lived her calling across tour buses and continents, and her story is a beautiful reminder about how God can lead us even when the path feels uncertain. So let's dive into a hope-filled conversation about faith, family, and following God's light. Well, welcome, Allie. It's such a joy to have you here. You've lived such a beautifully unique story from growing up in Northern Ireland to raising your kids on tour. And I'm just excited for our listeners to hear how God's faithfulness has shown up through every season of your journey. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, it's really great. I'm excited. We were just chatting beforehand, and I saw you guys in concert at a youth camp back in 2014 before Ren Collective hit it big. And so I feel like I'm one of the originals, one of the OGs.
Yes,
So
you're
it's
probably
fun.
one of the really old merch shirts and the CDs now you're like, where do I play this CD? What can I put it in?
I know. I just, this morning I wanted to listen to My Lighthouse again, and I just hit Spotify,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So for those who don't know your story beyond Ring Collective, can you introduce yourself and just share a little bit about your background growing up in Northern Ireland?
Absolutely. So my name is Gilkeson. I grew up in a little coastal town called Carrickfergus, which is just outside Belfast in Northern Ireland. And I don't know many people that I always say it's funny. We came to America and we didn't meet any Americans. We just met Irish because it feels like everyone's always like, I'm Irish, I'm Irish, I'm Irish.
Oh, funny.
And but it's great. Like I had a great childhood. I grew up in the church. I was involved in all the events and became a youth leader at a very young age, and just always enjoyed being in ministry and enjoyed connecting with people and building community. Then, yes, I was actually a trained physical therapist and then got involved with this band it was called Rain Collective Experiment at the time. And we would just do some shows and lead worship locally. And we had a ministry called Rain Collective, which was just really about taking the show out of church and kind of stripping things back. And we just wanted to see what it would like to authentically hear from God and see what he wanted to do. And after a few years of doing that, we just felt led to start writing our own music. And that led us into sort of doing different worship events around the UK and around Europe. And then we were kind of praying about coming to America. But, being from Northern Ireland, which is a very small country, you're going, it's so big. How will we ever get there?
Mm.
And within about 2 weeks, we had an email from Chris Tomlin saying, hey, I just heard your album. Would you fancy coming on tour, a national tour with me and Lou Giglio? And we prayed about it for about 10 seconds and said,
Yeah, that's pretty big.
it was
Yeah.
a pretty big answer to prayer. We actually thought it was a prank because the email was something so obvious. And we were like, this is one of our friends just pranking us, being like, yo, which would be something someone from Ireland would definitely do. And from there, life just took a crazy turn. We ended up touring full time all around America. We would do Europe every other year. We would do UK tours. We went to Japan. We went to Australia, New Zealand. And yeah, things just kind of went a bit mad. And when we decided, oh, do we want to have kids? We thought, you know what, we do, but we're just going to bring them on the adventure. And so I ended up raising 3 kids on the road and homeschooling on the road. And it was madness because you're in a different city every day and it's chaos and what all the things. But it was a really unique experience. And just a few years ago, as my kids were getting older and needed some proper education, I decided to come off the road and put them into school. And yeah, so we're now in Nashville, Tennessee, and we've got 2 dogs. And yeah, life's good. My parents are actually here from Ireland at the minute. So they're here staying. So the Irish accent level has gone way up.
Oh, isn't that the truth? That's what
so
happens. Yeah.
So that's really the little bit of background, and through that journey, storytelling is such a huge part of Irish culture. I think honestly because the weather is so bad, we've nothing else to do. We don't have big malls or big indoor entertainment centers that we're like, we need to get really good at telling stories because that's the only way we're going to entertain ourselves. And
That's so
that's
funny.
where the old things of lore come in and folk tales and all of that. And honestly, growing up in Ireland, if you couldn't tell a good story, you were kind of, you're like, okay, no, you're no good. And so storytelling was such a huge part of what we do. And I then wanted to transfer that into kids' books. And that's what I did.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're going to talk all about that. So let's just focus a few minutes on, because our listeners are moms of all ages, but a lot of them they're in the thick of it, right?
Yeah.
And I want to know how in the world, with the concerts and the travel days and the diapers, and now you're telling me you were homeschooling, which makes perfect sense. How did you do that?
I think that question to myself all the time because my firstborn, Arthur, he was 6 weeks old and we took him on the road with Kerry Job. And we were in the north of America and it was freezing and the inside of the window buses were frozen. And we were also sharing a bus with 6 crew members. So there was me as a first time mum, 6 weeks postpartum with a tiny baby on a moving tour bus. And I was like, what am I doing? Because even like the nighttime feeds, the bus is moving during the night. So you would get up and you're on a moving bus with a tiny baby trying to feed or trying to go into the back lounge and changing diapers while that was happening. And all I can say was that it was just such beautiful chaos and things got a little bit easier. But honestly, it was just a really hard time, because especially with things like scheduling and all of that, that's so huge when you've got tiny babies. Well, I would really concentrate on scheduling and feeding every 3 hours or whatever and trying to fit that into, oh, well, it's feeding time, but we now need to get on this flight. And you're going, I what am I going to do about that? And you just had to learn flexibility, which I wasn't great at, honestly. I wasn't one of those moms that was like, everything's going to be fine. Just go with the flow. I was like, no, my baby's on a schedule. He needs to nap, and trying to get babies to sleep and you just get them to sleep. And then someone would come in the bus and go bang on the door. And you'd be like, no, I just spent 20 minutes trying to get this baby to sleep.
Bless your heart.
So it was really hard, but I will say having a community of people who were really on board with what we were trying to do really helped. And, people were very considerate and, there'd be times we would be walking up and down a church venue with the stroller trying to get someone to sleep or, as they got a little bit older, you're constantly going, okay, where's the stairs? Be careful of this. All of those little moments or even laundry if a child spit up on himself or went through a diaper, you're like, well, I don't get laundry for 2 days. So here we are with a bucket and water and trying to figure things out. So it was like being on a constant camping trip.
Wow.
But I will say now, my children sleep everywhere. They eat almost anything. They could navigate an airport with perfection. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could drop all 3 of them off at Nashville International and be like, okay, I'll see you in Ireland. And they would make it. They'd be fine. Because
That's
they've done it
incredible.
so many times. They know the process. They know the journey. They know where they need to sit, where they need to go, what they need to look for. Yeah, it was mad.
I can't help but think about how God was changing you during all of that. And you were
Yeah.
saying that, you weren't necessarily a go with the flow person. And that's what I pictured before I met you. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
well, she has to be super laid back and go with the flow to make this work. And you're saying, no, that's not who you were. So how did you ground yourself in the Lord? How did he change you through that
Yeah.
process?
I mean, there was just so much need. I think the exhaustion was so intense most of the time. Like, and I'll be honest, there was days because when we had our third, there's 14 months between my second and third, which, wasn't planned. But here we are. And so I just had like really 2 wee tiny babies in a bus and sleep was not really happening. And there was days I was like, I couldn't get off the bus to socialize or anything because I was so drained and so done. And I knew that I needed that energy because I still had a meet and greet and a show to perform and all the things to do. And, you would just have to go to that place where you're like, okay, Lord, I need you. Like, I'm in need of you. I need your strength. I need your courage. I need just regenerated. And yeah, that's where I went to. I would pray for sleep so much. Lord, if I could just get sleep, it'd be great. And then Honestly, a few years in, the Lord really brought an excellent nanny to then help
Okay.
us,
Yeah.
and that changed everything.
Yeah.
Because it was just someone else to just to have help on the road was huge, which we didn't have until the kids were honestly maybe around 4, 3 or 4. We would just have help of another band member's wife who would only watch them when we were on stage. So all that other time during the day was on us, or was on me really, because Gareth would be recording. So there was moments of still like being on your knees, just going, I need help. Like, I need help.
Sure.
I don't got it today. But there's just, that's the thing that I think is so incredible about mothers and motherhood is that you get up and you get on because you have to. And there's just this ability of going, it's on me. Like, I have to keep going. These babies can't feed themselves or they can't change themselves. And so we do it. And it's incredible. It's incredible. And so I just think mothers are just the most amazing people in the world.
Well, I completely agree.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about how we all, no matter where God has called us, motherhood is hard. It can be
Hmm.
really hard. And obviously, it was really hard for you. But it's really interesting how you guys said yes to the Lord when He called you to go out on tour and do this. And so some of us might be listening going, there's no way I could ever, my life is hard enough right now in my home,
Yeah.
trying to do all these things. But thinking about how God called you to that. And so He empowered you and strengthened you when you asked Him to. And I know it was hard. I mean, it, motherhood, my husband traveled all the time. And so I had no family around. But I know God, when I would cry out to Him, He would meet me right where I was. And, motherhood is a ministry, it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
mission.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely. And it's full time. It's
it's
24/7.
full-time. Yeah. You're always on as a
Yeah,
mother.
absolutely.
I do love the fact that you had that community around you that was
Yes.
helping and pouring in because, that's kind of an opposite, like, a lot of moms actually are very alone. They feel very alone in their motherhood. And
Yeah.
so you had that community. You might have felt alone in the sense that they weren't doing the same things as you, but
Yes.
you knew that you could count on them.
Yeah, it was a little bit of, I think one of the probably the most challenging parts of it was you were being constantly witnessed as a mother.
Oh,
So you were
oh.
be you know, my motherhood was visible to the whole community and to every person that was in each venue of every day.
Ah,
So can you imagine, you would come into the catering room and I'm like, my children, like, people expect them to sit well, eat well, and what am I going to do if they don't? Because there's a
oh.
whole room now full of people, that are watching me and witnessing me to see how I parent, to see how I discipline, to see how I love. Um I didn't realize the weight of that until I kind of came off the road and I was in the house and going, I'm not like trying to prove anything to anybody or, be like, my kids need to act a certain way because people expect, if you're leading worship at the front of a church, like your kids are really, they've got it together. There's this funny story. I remember we did a Christmas tour and we walked into a church and the pastor came up and said, oh, I just want to welcome you. And I had young kids at the time and it was my middle son. And he said to him, my son's called Lachlan, he said, now, do you know whose birthday's coming up? And my son was like, I know yours. And I was like,
Wrong
what?
answer.
We talked about this. It's always Jesus. Always say Jesus, guys, okay? So it was just, wee moments like that. And that was things you just had to let go of being like,
Yes.
just let kids be kids. But the other part of it is my kids really learned that the world doesn't revolve around them,
Mm,
that
mm.
we live in community and we have to move as community, and you didn't want salmon for dinner tonight, sorry, that's what the community's eating, so that's what we're doing. Or and even like real social skills, by the time we were sort of tailing to come off the road, my eldest son, he would go over and have dinner or lunch with the crew members. And, we'd be sitting chatting and, all, even to this day, all the teachers in their school are like, your kids are the most social and can hold conversation or like, we love hanging out with them because they adjusted really well. And I really appreciated the community were like wanting to invest in my kids. They wanted to talk to them. They wanted to spend time with them. It wasn't, you kids are annoying, go away. It was, yeah, come sit with us. Let's see what you got to say or what we're going to do today. Or so
That's
it was
so
really
good.
awesome.
That's so
Yeah.
good. And how did homeschooling work in that environment?
Oh, great.
Somehow they learn to read.
Well, and that was the craziest thing is so from the youngest of age, my eldest loved books. I love books. And books were a huge part because you went into any church and there was with the kids ministry, there's always books there, or we would find the local library and go there because that was free and you would spend hours there. And the problem with homeschool was there was so much distraction on the road. So there was lots of people, lots of community. My kids just wanted to hang out and have fun. And sometimes we would be in really awesome cities. So you're going, let's explore the city today and
Sure.
trying to find ways to educate in that way. But it was amazing, and I would come around and say, I think my view would be like, if you can homeschool your kids up to a certain age, definitely do it because the time goes so fast. And now they're all in school all day and I miss them terrible. It's like, oh, what did you learn or who poured into your life today? And having that extra time with them. And you know what? They'll learn it. They will learn it. They will
Mhm.
learn to read, they'll get their numbers. And I think sometimes a lot of the stress of homeschooling, of to homeschool and excel was huge. And for me, I was like, first of all, coming from an Irish education, I don't know American curriculum, first of all. And so I was bringing over books from Ireland every time I went home, being like, this is the math I know, and this is the English I know. And when my kids first went to school, the teacher was like, I'm not sure about their vowels. I'm like, that's just an accent thing because in Ireland it's like it's not A-E-I-O-U, it's So that's
God.
so once we got over that, because the whole band was Irish, so that's what they were hearing. And so
You
yeah,
know
it was definitely challenging, but so fun. And I loved just having the extra time with them and it was great.
Yeah, yeah. I can totally relate. I homeschooled my kids when they were, early elementary, and, there were times when you can't book learning, and you can spend a couple hours a day on that, and that's all you can do, and then there's so many other ways they get educated, right? And so
Oh,
I
totally.
love
I mean, games was a huge part for us, particularly for my kids' math. Even card games, like they learned their numbers via playing cards and what was bigger than this and what was greater than this and dice and all of that stuff. It was like things that we could travel with that didn't take
love
up a
that.
lot of room. And then like running merch, that's how they learned their coins and their change.
Yes! They're
Like the
so
cost
see, that's what I'm talking about.
while so much practical application and again, that was a lot of the stress I think we carry as mothers of like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this perfect? Is this the way everyone else is doing it? And you have to come to the point of going, it doesn't matter because when your stress is down and you're feeling fulfilled in your life, that really pours into your kids. And so, I had to let go of like, oh, well, people say they're sitting down for 3 hours a day. I'm like, no, we got 32 minutes in today. We're doing great. Okay, let's go do something else.
That is so good. I mean, we see so often that the mom guilt of feeling like there's this perfect thing out there that we're supposed to model as a mom. And God chose every single one of us for the children he has given to us. And so when we can rest in that, it just helps the overwhelmed feeling just go
Oh,
away.
totally, totally, totally. I think we talked about this in Rand a lot of comparison is the thief of joy. And it's so huge in motherhood because you go to the park and you see what other kids are able to do and you're going, oh, my kid, or, I remember because Arthur loved books, but he struggled reading until like just a couple of years ago. And I was like, how is this possible? Because I would like see other kids just sitting reading books. I'm like, my son can't do that. And that made homeschool tricky because I couldn't be like, hey, do page 4 to 8. I had to sit there and be like, this is what
Mm.
it's asking you to do. And then, it all works out now. He's reading The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, when he's 12. And so but at the time I was just looking at what other kids could do and going, well, how are you teaching your kid? What am I doing wrong? And it's like, that's not it. We're all where we're meant to be with who we're meant to be, and things just happen in their own time.
Such a good perspective.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I could just keep talking. It's so interesting, but let's talk a little bit about your book because it just, first of all, My Lighthouse is probably one of your most well known songs from Ring Collective. And then you
Yes.
chose to write that book. So, what inspired you?
Yeah. So I mean, the song was huge, and we saw it connect with people of all ages, from young kids. We would get videos in from schools, assemblies, like doing the actions or VBS camps, and it was just wonderful. And we were then at the time writing a kids album called Sparkle Pop Rampage, which if you haven't listened to, and you're a mom and you're in the car with your kids and you need something that's not gonna make you go mad, it's a good time. And I was like, I would love some more kids content to go along with this. And we were like, why don't someone, I think it was the lead singer Chris, was like, why don't you try and write a kids book? Like, you love stories, you love telling stories, try that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I did it. So the first book is called My Lighthouse, and it's about a little boy called Finn who doesn't like his house because it's so different and it's round and looks silly. And so sets off on an adventure in his little rowboat, and comes to realize it's his house that's guiding every ship, boat, canoe safe to shore, and that it's really special. And it's a book just about teaching kids and every human who reads it of going, there's a constant light that's always shining in your life. And no matter what storms come, no matter what happens around you, it's consistent and it will always shine. And it's really just up to us whether we decide to follow it or not. If we let it lead us safely home, safe to shore, but it's always there. And so that's what that story was really about, just teaching kids, there's times where you're going to be afraid. There's times where it feels uncertain, that, struggles come and hard times come, but the light of God always shines and doesn't go out. And you can, have confidence and trust that it's there and it's guiding you home. And then the second book, Keeping the Light, just came out last month. And it's just a sequel on where Finn decides to take control of the lighthouse, that he thinks he can run it a little bit better than his dad. And that as different vessels come into the shore, he decides, do they deserve the light or do they not? Because we could save energy. And so it's just a real story about, we're called to shine our light no matter what, and there'll be people that come along that will make you want to hide your light, that you think, oh, it's too scary to shine right now, or I can't be who I am, or they won't understand. And it's like, no, this light, this grace, this love is for everyone. And we're just keeping it. It's from something and someone much greater, but it's up to us to let it shine. And so I just love it. I worked with an amazing illustrator, Lee Wildish. The books I feel are stunning.
They are. I agree.
And so I wanted to write books, really, and it was honestly with the heart of Pixar, which was like, they created movies that the whole family could enjoy, that brought connection. And it was the same for me. I was like, I want to write a book that when your kid picks it off the shelf, that you're like, yes, we got a good one tonight. It doesn't last too long. The images are beautiful, and there's something that you can talk about afterwards and discuss, and maybe just spark a little bit of conversation. So that's what I love about it.
That is so great. My family, when I'm into books big time, and
Yeah.
I raised my kids on books, and I saved a lot of those books from when
Yes.
they were younger, because now I have grandchildren and
So
it's just the
yeah,
best to be able to
it's the
share with
best.
them. So I'm looking forward to grabbing a copy of each of those. They sound fantastic. And yes, I checked them out, and I love the illustrations. So it's really cool. Excellent job. Okay, so if you could go back and tell yourself one truth as a younger mom,
Mhm.
what would you say?
I would say, Ali, it's okay to ask for help and to receive help. I feel like I really wanted to be the be all and end all. And I wanted people to look at me and go, wow, look at what she does. She does it all. She tours, she mothers, she's homeschooling. And something within me really struggled asking for help because it was seen as maybe weakness or that I didn't have it. And if I had learned much earlier, this is not weak at all. Like, you're going to be a much better mother if you just ask for help and even receive help. I remember there was times people were like, "Oh, I'll take the kids for an hour." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I got it. I
Mm,
got it. It's
mm.
fine." Or I'll pick up your kids from school so you don't have to. No, 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 no. That's a hassle. I got it. I got it. Say yes.
Oh,
Thank you
that's
so
good.
much. That would be great. Because even the little moments of getting 30 minutes to yourself, and you don't have to be productive in those 30 minutes. You can
Yes.
sit and look at a wall and breathe. Yeah, that's what I would say. And I think it's a huge thing in this day and age. There's still a lot of like, you have to be the be all and end all and have it together and make Instagram look like your life's perfect and your kids are dressed really well, all the things. And asking and having a little bit of help. And if you can afford help as well, just get it. Even if you're book a sitter to like, so you can go for a walk. Or sometimes I would get someone to come and they would be like, hey, you're not watching my kids. I want you just to like clean up the kitchen, fold the laundry, do this because I want to be the fun one with my kids today. I want to be
Mm.
the one that like takes them to the park or plays the games or just does something out of the ordinary. But we can't do it all. So uh asking for help and being able to receive it is big.
That's so good. I see that so often is that we think and there's a lot of pride in that,
Yeah.
honestly,
Oh yeah.
and that control, desire for control. But that is such a lie from the enemy
Hmm.
that we can do it all because we
Yeah.
can't. And moms are so exhausted to the point where the Surgeon General has recently put out something about how parents, it's a public health crisis, actually,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
exhaustion of parents today. And so much of it comes because we feel like we've got to do it all. We have to have control over it all. We have to make everything look Instagram perfect. Our kids have to
Yeah.
be in all these things. And really, that is just not
It's just
true.
no, I remember the pressure of even, like, showing up to church on a Sunday morning, and you would see all these moms coming in, and their kids were dressed so good, and their hair was done, and their makeup was done. I'm like, "How did you do this?" You know, but again, there's something in that of going, like, they get to walk in and feel like, "Look what I did." I'm going, "It's just not real. It's just not real." The fights that you had in the morning, the amount of times you probably shouted at your kids to get ready or to give you time for you to get ready, like, let's just be ourselves. Like, it's okay to show up with messy hair and one eye done, one eye not done. Like, it's okay. That's what the church is meant to be about, you know?
That's
Um,
so good.
that would just be my little thing.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that so much. So, as we close, what encouragement would you offer to moms who feel like their current season is unstable, whether because of big life changes or job shifts or just a whirlwind of family life? What would you say to that mom?
Yeah. Um, I would say it's gonna get better, that you're in a season. Sometimes it feels like when you're in a dark place, like that this is it for the rest of time, and it's not. I would say learn to process what you're feeling, learn to communicate what you're feeling, and in really hard times, I think a lot of times we try and like shield that from our kids to think, well, I'm not going to tell them what's going on. Like I'll be on edge, but I'm not going to let them know. Kids can feel it. They can feel when times are hard. They can feel when you're stressed. They can feel when things aren't right. And a big thing for me was when we went through a really hard time was I'd be like, hey kids, mom's having a really hard day today. I'm sorry if I'm a bit short or if I need 10 minutes in my room just by myself. And it just makes them aware of going, oh, this is what I'm feeling, this weirdness in the room or in the house. It's validated. It's not like trying to brush things under the carpet and your kids are left wondering, oh, well, mom's saying everything's fine, but it definitely feels weird. And they have this conflict of what they're feeling and what their reality is. And so when you're going through a day or a time or a season and you're just like, I don't got it today. Sometimes I'll literally say to my kids, I am so tired today. So, I'm gonna go lie down for 20 minutes. You guys can watch the show and when it's done, I'll be ready to go back in. But I'm just feeling really tired. Or sorry I shouted at you there. I was
Mm.
just feeling not really myself today. Where there's days where you don't feel like yourself. And so mom knows she's not acting her normal way. And now I'm addressing it. I'm making it known that we're both on the same page.
And you're
So
modeling that too for them so
exactly.
that they learn how to process when they're not feeling well and how to respond and instead
Yep.
of trying to seem like everything is great and then losing
Mhm.
it, right? You're
Exactly.
trying to get there before you're stopping before you get there.
Yes. And there is, I mean, there's obviously boundaries to that. Like, I don't invite my kids into the integral, complex things that are going on. They don't need to know the details of things, but they just need to be aware, like, I know what you're feeling. I see what you're feeling in the house. There's a lot of stress going on. And sometimes when we're stressed, we need to do this or you need to do that. And now my son's he's so brilliant, but he needs his personal space, which was always interesting when you're on a bus full of people and we'd be like, Arthur, do you need some personal time? He's like, oh yeah, that's what it is. I'm feeling so overwhelmed with like company, especially his younger brother. Be like, okay, you can go into your bunk and pull your curtains and read or play with Legos or just have some time, and when you're ready, come out and things will be better. And it's just little practices.
So good. So good. Is there a Bible verse that's grounding you right now?
Yeah, for me, the longest time was always John 15 about the whole image of the vine and, drawing close to God and he will draw near to you. And I love that promise of like when you're pursuing God, when you're like, whatever that looks like, if it's a mess, if it's straight, if it's whatever, because sometimes in the busyness you're going, but it's like in the mundane, we can pursue him and he promises that he's close. And I feel like the closeness of God in our lives as mother, even when you feel like you're feeling so bad, they're like, if I draw close to you, you're going to draw close to me. You're not going to punish me or run from me or hide from me. You're going to come close. And I love that so much.
It's beautiful.
And
Really.
particularly within motherhood as well, it's like I say to my kids, no matter what's going on, no matter what you've done or what you're doing, or however you've maybe messed up, if you come close to me, I'm coming close to you. I'm not afraid of who you are, of what you've done. Like I
Mm,
will always come close to you. And I just model that from the promise of God, and I just love it.
so good. Such a great conversation, Allie. Thank you
Yes.
so much. It's been great to get to know you and hear your story and all your wisdom and all that you've learned and that God has taught you. Really, really great.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
You bet. Talk to you soon, hopefully.
That's nice. Bye.
Bye.